everybody, and welcome to Blue Jays Today, where today, everybody, we are going to be ranking the Toronto Blue Jays from best to worst, worst to best, however you want to put it, if you're glass half full or glass half empty type of guy. That's what we're going to be doing today, and this is kind of like the final nail in the coffin, period, exclamation point of the 2024 season, and then it is full rear view mirror. We're looking ahead at the offseason, who we're signing, who we're trading, what we're doing. But considering there's still playoff baseball going on right now, there's not a whole lot of news going on with the Toronto Blue Jays, so we figured this would be a great time to do that refresher, give them all some rankings, and see where we're putting them walking in to next year. Should be a good one, everybody. You let us know in the chat if you're live with us, where you would put these people, everything like that. Should be a fun one. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlaw.
I'm your host, Adam Peddle. Yeah, and you're talking about like putting it all in the rear view and looking ahead. I mean, part of this is also, looking at the roster we have right now and looking ahead to that, right? Which guys are we excited about that came up in the second half? Now, disclaimer, the people on this list will not be guys who have very minimal playing time. I'm talking about that flurry of, relief pitchers that came up through Ross Atkins at the end of the year. A lot of those guys are not going to be on this list. However, there are going to be a lot of guys who came up as young prospects, like Jonathan Clase came up for a few games. I think it's important to put him on this list. And as well, the guys who we traded away, they are not going to be on this list as we already ranked them in a previous video. So that is the disclaimer right here. The majority of the Blue Jays roster that we should be looking forward to moving forward into 2025.
Okay, let's flash over to the tier maker right here, everybody, so we can kind of go through the settings that we have here. You got your elites, you got your solids, so that, you kind of your S tier and then your A tier in solid. Then you got your C tier in, the mid. Then the bench warmer, which, let's face it, is kind of just like a D tier. Like, do we really want him on the team? Not really, but, this is kind of what we have. And then you got your worse than Ross Atkins, where it's just like, we are not excited about this player at all moving forward. Realistically, they probably shouldn't even be rostered.
Right.
But because we're a 74-win team, they are. I think we also need to just establish right now that this is going to be based off of obviously everything they did in 2024, but considering there's some guys that had a much larger sample size and other guys who had a much smaller sample size, there will be an element of potential and what we're expecting from them moving forward and stuff like that, because it's not fair to put Will Wagner in the elite tier, when he only had, 30 games or something like that,
Right. No, I absolutely hear that. And you also got to consider, right, this is the 2024 list, so where, you have guys like Bichette coming up here, it's like, remember, this is his 2024 season, you know what I mean? So we also got to be considering that, but also maybe give him a little bit of respect as well to the name.
Let's start with Addison Barrera. So we're going alphabetically here, everybody. Now, again, this is kind of one of those questionable ones where, Addison Barrera came up, didn't have a whole lot of playing time, was up and down, didn't do very good when he was on the team. And it pains me to say that because we love Addison Barrera here at Blue Jays Today. I truly do hope the best for him, and I think that the potential is real. Quick shout out here to 3 Point James. Worse than Ross Atkins, Mark Shapiro said with the $2 donation. Addison Barrera was pretty bad, and all things considered, his expectations, I think that this definitely
probably the floor.
Yeah,
the floor.
The floor, maybe even a little bit below that. 197 is tough to swallow.
Over 208 at-bats. He still had a positive WAR, I guess. He wasn't, really abysmal. It was a lot worse at one point, so there was a lot better points near the end. So, for me, this is pretty floor, in my opinion.
I would agree, man. Now, I don't think that he's worse than Ross Atkins because, at the very least, walking into 2025, I am still excited to see what it is that he offers to the Toronto Blue Jays. But I don't think I could go so far to say that he's mid. So for me, the way that he played, it's bench warmer caliber.
And he was, right? He provided that utility, third base, right field, sometimes left field. So, for him, it was, and you didn't feel disappointed to see his bat in the lineup. It was more of a bench kind of play. So, Barrera, bench in 2024. Moving on, we had Chris Bassitt, who arguably had his worst season ever.
It's actually not even arguable. I believe it is. Now I know that he's had a couple that are smaller sample size, but this, in terms of a full season of play, is the worst that he's done. A negative .1 WAR, if you can believe it or not. He actually, was worse than just anyone that you could have had, right? Which is kind of shocking to me because 4.16 ERA is not good, but it's not the worst thing ever. Either way, definitely not what we would have hoped for from Chris Bassitt. So all that stuff being considered a negative WAR, but also 170 odd innings.
Maybe a lot of innings.
I'm between two right now. You let me know what you're thinking.
I'm going to go and land on a mid because, I mean, the WAR is definitely like really glaring for me, but still a 4.16 ERA with, again, 171 innings pitched, and you never felt like you had you never felt like you were going to lose a game when Chris Bassitt was on the mound, but you also didn't feel like you were going to actually excel and win this one, and for me, that's the definition of a mid player. For me.
Yeah, I think, that WAR is really bringing me down a bit because I was even like thinking bench WAR just because it was negative WAR, but at the same point, I mean, still 170 innings is a lot of innings to get up, and
you
all
wouldn't
things
put Bassitt on the
considered,
bench,
No, I wouldn't. So I think that, I'm going to go mid. I think I'm also just factoring in, the expectations that he would have had for himself, and clearly, like, they hit all. Like, you're talking about floor, like, I think that's even below a Chris Bassitt floor. So let's go mid, and then we'll see how it all pans out as the remaining players pop up. This guy, I think he's going to either be the first elite or definitely a solid here is Jose Barrios. One of the few guys that I think we can all kind of look at and go, okay, we're happy with what it is that you did this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that ERA spiked up at the last start. He was going to have his best season ever in terms of ERA, and then unfortunately got blown up in the final week of the season. So I'm not too disappointed because, look, he was tired at the end. He was just throwing fastballs down the middle and got blown up, but I'm still very happy. It's very close for me for the elite. But overall, he is the definition of like the top end solid kind of guy for me. If you look around baseball and compare him to other guys, that have been like, elite potential. Jose Barrios for me is like a top end solid guy.
I'm also this is why I kind of hate WAR, everybody, but 2.2 WAR for somebody that had 192 innings. He won 16 ball games. I just find that WAR is such a up and down stat. I personally don't think it always does justice to how much value you provide. I personally would have thought Jose Barrios to be a 4 or 5 WAR player.
Yeah.
So all things considered, for me, I'm with you. The solid looks good. If he could have, and if that last start didn't happen, or like he went, 6 scoreless or something, and that ERA was like a 3.20, now I'm thinking
low and elite.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you, and that's why it's so unfortunate. And Danielle also agreeing with us. Same with Ton too, saying Barrios. Oh, whoa, Barrios is mid. No, I'm sorry, Ton too. I gotta disagree. I'm going with Daniela here, saying Barrios is a solid player.
Tontu, if Barrios is mid,
we're in trouble.
We are.
We're in trouble.
Yeah, no one's going in the elite tier if Barrios is mid.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at with the Toronto Blue Jays. Let's move on to Stuart Burrow. Now, you're definitely going to need to remind me what this guy even did with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Not much. Here's the thing. He spent a lot of time with the Toronto Blue Jays, but was mostly on the bench. And quite frankly, I'm not really sure what he was doing up with the team. I think it was just a filler.
It was pinch running a lot, I thought, right?
Yeah, he had 6 stolen bases. How many attempts did he have? He was caught stealing. Where are his last 5 games? Dude, they barely have anything on him. Caught stealing twice. Okay, so he's got a 75% stolen base percentage. I mean, I feel like Stuart Burrow is kind of worse than Ross Atkins, honestly.
Yeah.
I think if we didn't trade away all of our guys, he would never be on this team. And I think in an ideal world, I don't want him riding the bench. I think, sure, I like his personality too, Leah. And you got Danielle saying Burrow, bench warmer. I don't know. Where are you kind of at?
I don't know, man. This could be a last tier for me, worse than Ross Atkins. Now, I know that whenever we hear worse than Ross Atkins, that automatically makes us think of the devil. But ultimately, we're talking about a player here who, great dude, but I mean, he's not a top prospect. He didn't play good in the few times that he did play, and even when our roster was so depleted to the point where, we're starting no ones, he still only got 37 at-bats.
Yeah.
Even when the roster was at its lowest.
0.3 WAR, probably because of the stolen bases. That's probably
what? This is fucking crazy to me.
I know.
How does Stuart Burrow have higher WAR than Chris Bassitt?
That makes no sense.
Explain to me that. This is why I hate that. Okay, whatever, man. Whatever. It's either very low bench warmer or worse than Ross Atkins.
Yeah, because I wouldn't say he hurt us in any capacity.
But you don't want him on the team next year.
No, not really.
No.
Let's we'll go with the chat. I would change my choice. Okay, worse than Ross Atkins. All right, so we'll go top end worse than Ross Atkins for Stuart Brault.
That feels kind of right. Also, this guy could be in that exact same mix as well. Now, this is different in the sense of, Bichette, I do want him on my baseball team next year. I would be excited to see what he does. My hopes are definitely lessened than what they used to be, but I'm still going to be anticipating good stuff from Bo.
Right.
However, if you're taking 2024 in a vacuum and you're comparing it to the expectations that he would have had walking into this season, I think that this is the clearest worse than Ross Atkins.
I agree.
Out of anyone, actually.
I agree.
Now, again, that's why all of this is subjective. If I had to decide who do I want on my baseball team, Stuart Brault or Bichette, it's fucking obviously Bichette by a million times.
Obviously, but again, we got to remind ourselves this is just 2024, and how this is a worse season I could ever imagine for Bichette. Negative WAR in 311 at bats, got injured, barely played, had terrible defense, only scored 29 runs, 31 RBIs, 4 homers. This is not good. This is not a good baseball player.
Yeah, 100%, man. Again, if his name wasn't Bichette, and it was like Stuart Brault, for instance, we wouldn't think twice. We literally wouldn't think twice.
You'd be like, this guy hits like Varsho with the power of a
Kiermaier.
A Kiermaier, exactly. So that's a combination of worse than Ross Atkins for me. Moving on, we got Ryan Burr.
Oh boy.
Let's remind ourselves of how Ryan Burr did.
Ryan Burr's face to me is it's kind of funny.
No offense, Ryan. It is a funny face.
It's a weirdly funny looking cartoon character. He looks like he belongs in fucking Fairly Odd Parents or some shit.
Yeah, the head's really big. Yeah. No offense, Ryan. Again, but the smile is like the emoji that's just a straight line.
Yeah, but it's a straight line, but he does look happy, which is weird.
Which is weird.
You look too happy for a guy that had a 4.13 ERA, a 0 WAR. A whip of 1.25. Actually, it's not terrible.
It's actually not that terrible.
I thought it was going to be a lot worse than that, but it's not
definitely not that bad. Didn't provide a lot. He was definitely in the back end of that rotation, and when he only played when we had to play him, when we were down by a lot or up by a lot. Yeah. So for me, it kind of feels like a bench.
4 games?
He did. Oh yeah, because he opened. He opened for a couple games.
Wild.
For me, it feels like he is bench. A bench warmer.
Yeah.
A bench warmer. I don't want to play him, but if I have to, I will.
Sure. No, I agree. He's
not I'm going to cut him or anything.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of where we're at right now. Yeah. Okay. Bench warmer for Ryan Burr. Moving on.
We've got Hector Cabrera, who started off the year rocky, but then actually had a very nice, solid stretch for 5 or 4 months. He actually, this is crazy to me. He had a negative WAR.
What? Based on what?
On what? The whip was very high and the ERA was very low. So, take it what you will for a relief pitcher, but it always felt like Hector Cabrera was a guy that we'd bring in for a late inning game. Granted, we didn't want to be in that position to be bringing in Hector Cabrera for a late inning game. If I had to in an ideal world, I'd want to play him as that that middle relief guy to get me to the back end of the bullpen in a fairly close ball game. Mm-hmm. So for me, I don't know where, I think I'm feeling kind of mid-ish.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree.
Almost solid, but mid.
No, I agree, man. Again, I was really harsh on Hector Cabrera, at the beginning of the year and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But as time went on, he was growing on me. And all things considered, when you're looking at that bullpen as a whole and just the roster as a whole, this is somebody that I'm going to be okay with having on the team next year.
Yeah.
So, I'm not overly excited about it, but yes, mid, I think is where it's at.
Pretty mid right now. Then you've got Jonathan Clase, who barely played, but had a nice stretch with the Toronto Blue Jays down the stretch, in the final week or two. With the Jays, he actually hit 350 with an OPS of 985. So, in 23 plate appearances, take that what you will. But again, this is a prospect. This is still a guy that didn't look that good defensively in the outfield.
No.
And, he is what he is. He's still a prospect no matter what he did down the stretch. So for me, the opinion that what he did my opinion of him didn't really change based on what he did. So for me, I don't know.
It's I hate how they do this, but he's no longer in the system anymore.
Oh yeah, because
they've taken him out. Yeah, so it's I guess he just eclipsed out of the prospect ranking system. But he was remind me he was 9 or 8 or something for us.
6, I believe. He was 6.
He was all the way up at 6. Okay, so. All that being considered, like it kind of feels a little bit like an Addison Barrera thing to me. But potentially just because the 7 games were nice, a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, Danielle's saying I'm agreeing with you. Bench warmer is what she's saying. So I'm kind of with that too. Again, like prove it. Like in an ideal world, you're coming off the bench and then maybe you can break out.
Sure. Yeah.
So throw them right in between there.
There you go. All right. Yeah. Get up on the definitely.
Get over Ryan Burr.
Yeah. All right, Ernie Clement. Now, Ernie Clement, this is a really interesting one because, you know, at the end of the day, Ernie Clement's slash line it's not the sexiest. It really isn't.
Right.
You know, you're looking at somebody with a 692 OPS, but let's factor in all the expectations and everything that he did here. You know, I'm very happy with what I saw from Ernie Clement. I think Ernie Clement, you can give yourself a pat on the back. You can feel good about the work that you put in from going to from starting as a cuttable player who might end up on another team to then playing the entirety of the season with the Toronto Blue Jays in multiple different roles in the infield and producing at a decent level. You can feel proud of that production. So
you definitely can, and especially his defense too, right? Like playing in multiple positions, moving around the diamond. It's again, I almost want to say solid like Matt Muse, but also considering everything, comparing him to everybody in the league, where are you kind of putting him? Like I'm kind of between the high mid. Range. I'm kind of in that range.
No, I think I'm in the exact same boat, right? Like I think that if you're gonna put Chris Bassitt in mid, then Ernie Clement is kind of in that same spot. Now it's wild to me that Ernie Clement has a 3.5 WAR and Chris Bassitt was negative. I think that they should probably be a lot similar to one another. But I do think that across the board, Ernie Clement is a
high mid.
Yes, yeah.
Because like the eyeball test, when you looked at him playing baseball, you're like, you thought this guy's solid. Like you can rely on this guy every day. But again, he's probably like the most solid mid player, if you could ever imagine that.
I think it's weird to say that he's mid because mid is I think mid's actually really good for him.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's like you should feel extremely accomplished by being in this tier, because you started out the year, low bench warmer.
Yeah, low bench warmer.
And you made your way all the way up to mid, So, I mean, I would feel very confident or, I guess, like accomplished if I was Ernie Clement with what it was that he did. And, I think putting him there is a good spot after what we saw this season.
And if he does it again, but even a little bit better, you're solid now. You're a solid contributor. Now, here's De Los Santos, who, again, just like Stuart Baroa, I never really understood why he was on the team. I guess just to fill up a roster spot, to not get the clocks going on some of the young guys. But yeah, 29 at-bats, but he was with the team for a long time. 29 at-bats, negative WAR, OPS of 34, no stolen bases. Okay, I think I know where we're going here, everybody.
It's the same thing as Stuart Baroa.
Same thing.
I feel like that's... Yeah. Nothing more needs to be said.
Yeah, nothing more.
Bowen Francis now, everybody. Now, this is a really interesting one because obviously, like you could break Bowen Francis up, for the first half of Bowen Francis, and then the second half of Bowen Francis. The first half of Bowen Francis was worse than Ross Atkins. The second half of Bowen Francis was elite, top elite. Like literally historically elite. And it did balance itself out to be a very, very, very good player.
Yes.
I'm feeling like this is a solid guy, all things considered.
Because we have to consider all 2024, right?
Yes.
We can't just be looking at, it's not the second half of 2024 Toronto Blue Jays, it's all, in which Bowen Francis, by the way, I looked at the previous one we did of this, he was at the bottom.
He was at the bottom, I mean, because he wasn't good at that point. He wasn't good. Like, but the remaining, like, the last 2 to 3 months of baseball was fucking phenomenal.
It was the best. Like, dude, we were giving away Jays of the Month. He won 2 Jays of the Month in a row. 100%. He was the best Blue Jay in the second half. So, with that being said, I think he does deserve to be up there in the solid, the high solid.
Yeah, he's right there with Jose Barrios for me. And I think, like, walking into next season, I'm very excited. Like, if you can start where you finished, like, you are looking at a Cy Young candidate type of thing. Like,
my prediction was 1 year too early.
1 year too early.
Too early,
well, you can always make it again if we make that video again.
Exactly. I'll double down. All right, next week.
Chad Green, everybody. One of the few bullpen pieces that we are going to retain, hopefully, and should be should be in a prime spot for us. Now, we did start to fall off near the end because there was a stretch there where Chad Green's ERA was like 1.7 or something like that. It was like really good.
Yeah.
And then he had like a solid like couple outings where it was just like blow up, and it's just you throw him out there and it was terrible.
Right.
And it all kind of rounded out to be that 321 right around his career. Actually, in fact, the WHIP is the exact same.
Wow.
So Chad Green is what you would expect out of Chad Green.
Right, exactly.
Solid bullpen pitcher who will have a couple blow-ups, but will also, for the most part, get it done.
Yeah,
where do you have this guy?
Exactly, like he's the most definition of solid. You know what I mean? You put that guy out there, you feel good about it, and you're going to expect good results. So for me, Chad Green had a solid campaign for the Blue Jays.
Like for me, I'm around like the low, like the lower solid. I definitely couldn't put him in mid. But I don't think I could put him ahead of like Jose Barrios either, you know. So that feels like a good spot for him right there. Kevin Gosman, this is an interesting one because again, like the expectations of Kevin Gosman walking in were, you're going to be a top 5 Cy Young finalist. That's not what happened. Rough start to the season. Started behind the 8 ball without spring training. You know, all that stuff. Started injured. Took him a long time to get going and to get consistent. He did start to figure it out near the end of the year, though, and that's why you see that ERA drop below 4. Positive record, 14-11 on a losing ball team. That's also something to be said as well. What do you think for Kevin Gosman?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about guys who are doing kind of their career stuff. It's Kevin Gosman literally doing what he does in his career. You know, granted, he had a bad first half of his career and then a really great second half. So for me, I mean, I wouldn't want to say Kevin Gosman is mid because he obviously had a better season than a Chris Bassitt. And for a large part of the season, you could rely on Kevin Gosman to give you a solid outing to win. I wouldn't put him up with like as high as Jose Barrios, but for me it's like he just eclipsed the solid for me this season, considering his bad start.
I'm like I'm with Daniela right now. This season, high mid to solid. Like I'm like right on the fringe there. I could go either way. I could be convinced to do like a low solid. You know?
I'm feeling a low solid because at the end of the day, it's like you'd still, when you think about Kevin Gosman's overall season, like sure you wouldn't be thrilled because it's his name value of Kevin Gosman. If you told me a pitcher had a 3.83 ERA with a WHIP of 1.22 with a 14-11 record, dang. I like that guy.
That's true.
I like that guy.
That's solid.
That's solid, right?
You did your job.
You did your job.
All right, Guerrero, we don't need to think about it. Toss him in the elite category.
Easy.
In fact, I think it might be
He might be the only one.
Only one up there. Actually, that's it.
He will be.
That's all we need to say about him, folks.
Actually,
you know he's there. It's really good.
Let's just change this to Vladimir Guerrero
Vladdy's here.
Jr.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, that's perfect for him because if Barrios isn't up there and Bowden isn't up there, then no one else is going to be up there. Guerrero, you're elite. We love you. Let's move on. Tyler
Heineman. He came in at the end there to replace I believe it was, who was it? Who was it? Who was the other catcher? I forget already. The guy who replaced Danny Jansen from the Rockies.
Shit.
We had a funny nickname with him. See, this is.
Oh my God! No, I know exactly. It's like right on the tip.
It's right on the tip of my tongue.
It's right on the tip. Somebody in the chat, let us know. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
So Tyler Heineman came in, and he's probably going to be with the team next year. I have a video coming out about it tomorrow. It feels like he's going to be our number 2.
That's a wild thing, right? Like, we're perfectly okay. Servin, thank you. Brian Servin. Yes.
Thank you.
Servin. Yeah, 100%. Thank you very much, Daniela and Leah, for that. Yeah, that was right on the tip of my tongue. I actually kind of fucked with Brian Servin, but
yeah, I did.
Either way, apparently we're back on the Heineman train here, folks. In his career, Tyler Heineman has a 0.7 WAR. Again, to take WAR with a grain of salt because it's all over the place. But you're talking about a guy who, in this year, in just 12 at bats, hit below 100, but again, just 12 at bats. The guy had 1 hit, so barely played.
We know who Heineman is.
Yeah, we know who Heineman is. Like, it's not good.
Yeah.
Like it's either really low bench or worse than Ross.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna throw him into right at the top of worse than Ross, just because this guy bounces around from team to team as their third or second.
Yeah,
catcher.
Nobody actually really wants to have him on their squad. He's done a really good job at just being capable just enough of if you're in desperate need, you'll call up Tyler Hamman and he can be that journeyman. But I'm not excited. And also just a sidebar there, like the fact that we are apparently perfectly content with like running it back with the same catchers.
Insane.
I mean, it just goes to show like. I don't actually know.
Yeah, I break it down tomorrow a little bit more. Like I go through like what Ross Atkins is talking about and who's available. So check it out tomorrow, guys. But like honestly, like to sum it up, it's like maybe there isn't really any other option out there that like is price worthy. But I'll break it down in my video tomorrow, guys.
Yeah. Moving on, we got Spencer Horwitz, folks. This dude was pretty good at baseball. This dude was pretty good. Now, the numbers did dip below the 800 OPS when it was all said and done, which is tough to see because I would have liked him to finish up there. Right. But all things considered, you're talking about somebody who stepped in and was immediately like meant to be up here. Yes. And in fact, had he been up at the beginning of the season and gotten up to that, high 400 or low 500 at-bat mark, then you might have seen him in the Rookie of the Year conversations. That simply didn't happen because he didn't have the playing time. But across the board, that slash line is something that we need to line up every day. And that was actually the second best slash line on the team.
That was. So. And considering that, I think he is also, like, he's a better solid. Like, he's an upper tier solid for me where, like, you actually feel excited to watch an at-bat from Spencer Horwitz and to see his name in the lineup. So for me, he gets that solid for me right there, like the solid guy that I can't wait to watch next season.
I agree. Also, a quick shout out here to Lynn, who's saying that we need to plan something. They're tired of these YouTube channels like bitching about the management. I mean, I would, if you have anything that we can do, that we can actively do to help and change this team, please let us know. I will do it. If you think I'm happy to sit here and bitch about Ross Atkins, then you are lying to yourself. We're good friends with a guy who is a YouTuber for the New York Mets.
Yeah.
His name is Wardy NYM. Go check him out. We are so jealous right now of what he is doing. He's making some incredible content over there, but he gets to watch his team in the postseason, winning ball games, being exciting. If you have anything that we can actively do to make it so the Toronto Blue Jays can be doing that, please, we are all ears.
Listen, I like what you said there. I don't want to sit here and complain about Ross Atkins. I do not. But we got to make content every day. And what is the reality, right? Yeah, Wardy NYN. I'm going to the NLCS. Yes. Us, we're here stuck with nothing right now.
We got 4 people in the worse than Ross Atkins tier. That's where we're at right now. So please let us know. Our DMs are open.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And who do we got next?
Leo Jimenez, everybody. You know what? Leo Jimenez, I had not really a lot of expectations for Leo. Especially with the bat, but defensively speaking, he was very solid in that own right. The bat wasn't too bad either. I mean, if you're just comparing OPS pluses, like the batting average was low, but the power, the doubles were actually there for Leo. In the small sample size of, again, like 63 games, he had 11 doubles.
Yeah.
His OPS plus was 97. So for me, obviously I would prefer a Bichette at a high elite tier level in that lineup, but I also wasn't disappointed to see Leo Jimenez playing for me every day. What are you thinking about Leo?
I'm thinking high bench.
High bench?
I think so. Where I'm at. Yeah, I don't think I can put him in the tier of Ernie or Chris Bassitt.
Right.
But yeah, like a high. I would still put him over like an Addison Barrera and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go high bench. He's also like still he's not in the prospect system anymore. But I would consider him to be a prospect of some capacity. So yeah, no, he'll be in there with Addison Barrera and Jonathan Klaus and everything like that.
Shout out to whoever just subscribed right here. Yeah, like if he had like maybe a little bit higher batting, like if his OPS was at the 3-digit mark, I might say he's the low mid. Like if he just been a little bit more overall with overall contact. We got Alejandra Kirk, who's also got great contact and a great eye. Started off the year really rough, but he ended up turning it around. He had that like 17-game hit streak.
Yes, he did.
It was great. He batted .253. OPS ended up being around 994. Honestly, amazing defensive catcher, guys. Yeah. I got to look, because I made the video about our catching situation coming out tomorrow, but I got to look at this guy's defense and look at those solid reds. One of the best defensive catchers in the league, if you can believe it.
Yeah, because we're throwback to the days where everybody was like, Danny's got the defense, and Alejandra Kirk is the bat. Terrible, defensively speaking. That's like completely
different.
Flipped on its head at this point. I think that that needs to be factored in when we're talking about Alejandra Kirk, because most teams, they don't have the luxury of having a good hitting catcher, and they would love to have somebody who's, got a 95 overall, caught stealing and, frames the way that Kirk does.
Oh, he steals so many strikes, right?
Yes, yeah, that is definitely something that needs to be noted. Everything being considered, though, I wouldn't be comfortable putting him in a solid tier at this point, and I also wouldn't be comfortable putting him in a bench warmer tier. I think that, for me, Kirky is kind of in that same boat as an Ernie and a Chris Bassitt. Where are you at?
See, I almost wanted to say he's like a low solid because the defense was so good. And again, I think about like him just catching, knowing the defense. It's like, wow, like you are a steady player. But then again, the bat isn't as good. However, it's a catcher, right? This is a catcher who's giving you a 253 batting average and an OPS under 700. So obviously, you want a little bit more, but we've been so used to the luxury of having a lot more. But at the end of the day, like a lot of catchers wish they could do what Alejandro Kirk is doing any given day. So he is a solid catcher, but overall player production, I mean, I guess you could argue he's mid.
Yeah, and I think I'm also thinking too, like you could make the argument defensively speaking, like Ernie Clement was fantastic, right? And we're putting him in the mid category. And then you look at like the career numbers for Kirk, and there is like this is a significant drop off. So yeah, I think high mid is where he should be.
I like it.
I'm the biggest Kirk fan.
I know you are,
so,
yeah. High mid is also good. Yeah, you got Ton saying mid, Laura Lee saying mid.
Also, Ton too, who's faster, Kirk or Stanton? You won't fucking believe it. It is Alejandro Kirk by a hair. We actually looked this up. We were live on our other channel, Bad for Baseball, watching the Yankees game, and this was a talking point. Yeah. And Kirk is like 0.1 of miles or kilometers, whatever their system is for counting things. He is 0.1 better than Giancarlo Stanton, which is insane. Yeah.
This guy's taller, bigger, stronger.
Yeah. He's effectively the height of Stanton's waist, and is a little bit faster than him.
Crazy.
So, crazy stuff right there. But let's move on. And who do we have next?
We've got Brandon Little, everybody. If I can remember how to spell it. There's a different way to spell Brandon.
I think it's Brendan.
Brendan Little,
yeah,
right. Brendan Little actually was one of the biggest, maybe not biggest is too big of a word, but it was one of the most subtle surprises in the bullpen for the Toronto Blue Jays this year. Didn't make the team out of the gate and then came up with injuries, of course, and threw up an ERA of 3.74 and a whip of 1.314. Again, like near the end of the year, I didn't start to feel bad to see Brendan Little trying to close out games or extend us to the back end of the bullpen. Brendan Little, overall, like as a reliever, like those numbers you're not disappointed with. Obviously, would you love to have somebody better or have him do better? Sure. For me, it feels like, I don't know, I think I'm dancing around that mid-range.
I think I'm mid as well. Yeah, I think I'm mid as well. Kind of the same boat for me as Hennessy's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're okay. Moving on, guys, we've got Joey Loperfido, the trade acquisition.
Yeah, this was a rough beginning for Joey Loperfido. Like, there was just a massive hole in that guy's bat. The strikeouts were pretty much, they were through the roof,
And with Toronto, he batted under the Mendoza line.
Dude, look at this. This is crazy. In Toronto, 6 walks, 52 strikeouts.
That's crazy.
A ridiculously terrible ratio there. That's not very good. That's not very good. So for me, I don't know if I'm willing to put Joey Loper. Like, are we willing to put him in the worse than Ross Atkins here? Because we haven't seen that much from him yet, but it's like it was really bad.
It was really, really bad, but I do know that he is a solid fielder. So I'm trying to give that a little bit of weight because he somehow has a 0.5 WAR on the overall season. Danielle is saying Joey's a bench warmer for Tontu. I feel like he's probably the lower end of a bench warmer.
Yeah, about as low as you can get in benchmark. Because let's factor in as well, like Joey Loperfido, correct me if I'm wrong here, not a top prospect. Like kind of like
18th last year. Yes. Then he lost his status.
Yeah,
this
like
year.
It's kind of like an Ernie Clement type of character where like you're just hoping that maybe one day you can be mid.
Exactly.
And sadly, this year was not that year. He'll get another opportunity, but if he doesn't pop off in spring training or like in the first month of the season type thing, like it could be.
Or if we go sign somebody, then it's like Joey's
you're the first on the cut list.
He's the first on the cut list for sure. Now we've got Nathan Lucas, who's speaking of an outfielder that's trying to make the team again. Nathan Lucas, small sample size again, but had like an incredible stretch this season.
He did.
Wow. In 76 at-bats, he had a 1.1 WAR, batting average of 303, OPS plus of 133. It feels like at age 30, he's like, well, this is it for me, so I got to show up or shut up.
Well, and he had a great stretch, right? 76 of his, those are his best at-bats he's had in MLB at this point, you know? And you're looking at a guy where it's like, shit, I mean, like, we might have to give you a spot starting next year, you know?
I'd give him a spot over Joey Lopefito at this point because he's got,
absolutely.
Lopefito's got more control, whereas Lucas, he's got age on his side, or against him, right? So
yeah, I would do the exact same thing. All that being said, though, I mean, I'm not going to kid myself here. Like, I'm not thinking that Nathan Lucas is the, next coming of Mike Trout or something at age 30. I think he was good, but I wouldn't be comfortable. I think it's a high bench warmer.
Yeah, that's what it is for me. Yeah, it's a high bench warmer because I'll put him right between some of the prospects here because, again, like, it was such a small sample size, and he does feel like the solid bench warmer you want. A guy who can come off the bench and actually give you some power. Like, I hate to compare him to Ernie Clement, but, guys who are a little bit older in their careers and coming up and making the most of their opportunities, where Ernie in last season, in 2023, he came up and was like really good. And that earned him like, okay, well, now let's give him a shot. And he did, and he took the most advantage. So let's see if he can become an Ernie Clement and be a high mid next year.
Yeah, I agree. Quick shout out here to Augustino saying, what's up, guys? Great content. Keep it going. Thank you very much. If you are currently watching and enjoying the content, please, if you haven't already done so, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button. I know there's a lot of depressed Jays fans in here who are upset about everything. We are the exact same way, and we're going to be going through it together this off season, through all the ups and downs, through all the bullshit rumors of us being in on Juan Soto or whatever. We're going to be there for it, guys. Don't you worry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can do this together.
Absolutely, guys. Moving on, we've got Tommy Nance.
Who, if believe it or not, Adam was like, right before we started filming this, he was like, hey, do you know who this is? Looking at the face, I was like, I have no idea. That guy wasn't a Toronto Blue Jay. And for a long part of his career, he wasn't.
No.
But we got him.
Long part of his career.
Yeah.
He barely has any, how many games does he have? Oh, he's got 82 games. Respect, Tommy.
Okay,
Nance.
respect. But with the Toronto Blue Jays last year, he had a 4.09 ERA, 22 innings pitched. It was, it was small sample size, not great, but, not terrible either.
Best curveball in the game, apparently, though. I'll never forget that.
That was insane, right? You remember that shit?
That was crazy.
We log into, you log into a game and, like they have a whole highlight pack on Tommy Nance's curveball, and it's just like, all right, like, you're down bad when 33-year-old Tommy Nance is the big talking point.
It's the same thing with us with Juan Soto in the rumors yesterday. It's like, well, like, what else is there to talk about?
Yeah, exactly.
So we feel that. But yeah, Tommy Nance is probably the lower bench warmer for me. It's like if I had to play anybody, I wouldn't want to play him. But it's not like he hurt us in any way, but it wasn't great.
Yeah, I'd say it's about as low as you can go, though, in the bench warmer category, Because I'll be honest, I don't really want Tommy Nance on the team next year. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, because it wasn't like he had negative WAR, but it's like, I mean, it's whatever, you're whatever. Yio Rodriguez is an interesting one, everybody, because he had such a interesting year. It was so rocky. I mean, if I were to give anybody the most rockiest year award, it's Yio Rodriguez.
It really was all over the place, folks. You'd have an incredible start, and you'd think that, okay, Yio Rodriguez is going to come around, and then you'd have a really bad one, and then you have a mediocre one, and, it really felt like a slot machine, and that's what you're going to get when you're talking about a player who has never played in MLB before and barely played baseball last year. So all things considered, I'm not upset at all about the season that we saw from Yio Rodriguez. However, in comparison to the rest of MLB players, a 4.47 ERA is not very good. A 1.315 WHIP is not very good. The WAR is negative. I'm still in on the Yio Rodriguez train, and I do think that you're going to see a next step being taken this season or in 2025. But in 2024 alone, I think it's kind of top-end bench.
Yeah, that's it for me, because, again, we got to see what he does in 2025, but I could see a reality. If we have the starting pitching depth available to us, if he continues to play at this level, then I think he's got to get relegated to a long relief role, which, if you're thinking about a starter, that is essentially the bench.
Yes.
So I would go, around that bench area, to kind of in that little mid to upper tier.
Nice pocket right
role.
there.
Yeah.
Davis Schneider, folks. 5 more Toronto Blue Jays to go through right here. This is always going to be a contentious one because everybody loves Davis Schneider. There's, really what else is, what's not to love about this dude other than the batting average and on base and,
The stats.
Yeah.
The stats.
No, but seriously, this was not Davis Schneider's year. We really hoped that it would be. I was thinking that he was going to pop off this season. I was really buying into the hype train. That's not what happened. He started to figure it out just a little bit right at the end of the season. But I mean, who knows if that's for good or if that was just like a, okay, we got a little lucky in the last couple weeks. So rough season for him. 191 batting average. What are you thinking for Dave Schneider?
Man, I'm literally if I remove the name Davis Schneider and I'm just looking at a 191 batting average, an OPS of 78. I would say you're worse than Ross Atkins.
Right.
I hate to say that. We got Minion in here saying worse than Ross Atkins. Danielle saying Davis is a bench warmer.
Do we have, what's the defense like again? Is there anything that can save him? You know what I mean? Can we
I mean, I thought he was okay.
Yeah, I think I don't think
field.
It's great, but I don't think it's
it's
horrendous.
It's mid actually. It's very mid. It's 52nd percentile. I really again, that's why I feel the bias telling me you can't put Davis at worse than Ross Atkins.
I think this year he was though.
But he was worse than Ross Atkins this year.
Because I agree with you. My bias is creeping in.
Yeah.
I don't want to put him there either. Putting him below Tommy Nance feels fucking sacrilegious.
That feels ridiculous. But if you actually ask me, who would you rather have at the plate, Loper Fido or Davis Schneider in 2024?
Oh my god.
Oh, it's starting to get very comparable. Yeah. Starting to get very comparable, honestly.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll put him there.
I gotta put him there, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, not that low. I'm trying to put him at the top.
Let's do better.
Wow.
Let's have a better 2025. I believe in it. I still believe in it, but fuck yeah. That was. I mean, it is rough.
It is very rough. Now another guy who's very rough. But I don't feel as bad as George Springer.
No, I don't feel bad at all,
because he's getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah, you're taking. This guy is probably traveling the world on his private yacht right now.
So you got George Springer. Let's look at the whole picture. Obviously, the offensive numbers were not that great. Slightly better than Davis Schneider, if we were to compare directly. And he provided you with some solid right field defense. And he played a lot of games, He had 545 at-bats. So I wouldn't say if Davis is just on that worse than Ross Atkins tier, I'd want to put him just above that in the low bench, which is funny because he's an everyday player.
Yeah.
But if you were to take the $25 million contract away and look at that, you're the guy coming off the bench.
Yeah, I agree.
You're that's Leo Jimenez numbers, but larger.
100% agree. I definitely agree, right? Let's face it. Yeah, it is. That's a great point. Leo Jimenez numbers, because you look at the production, and I mean, the production's not terrible, but that's kind of a subset of him getting 545 at-bats, playing every single day.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm kind of the same with you right there. I think it's going to be a low or medium bench.
A medium bench, somewhere in there, right? Because, again, if you're just looking at the numbers, I'd want him coming off the bench. I'd be okay with this guy coming off the bench. But he's going to be starting every day in right field for the Toronto Blue Jays.
We got to have a better 2025.
We do.
Damn, look at
the bench warmers.
The outfield for us is, you got David Schneider in there, George Springer. We're going to get to Dalton Varsho in a second. Let's do Eric Swanson first, though.
Yes.
Swanson, as we know, not the best. Kind of a similar story as a Kevin Gosman, where, you're not starting with the team, and then you just get behind the 8-ball, and it just all kind of comes crashing down. At the very end of the year, he started putting it together. But the season-long numbers are still looking pretty short. You got an ERA over 5. You got a WHIP of 1.271. The WAR is negative. The career numbers to this season are vastly different.
Yeah.
Where are you at here?
Yeah, I mean, this is I think the worst active bullpen guy that made it through all the cuts and the trades and everything like that. Because, again, we have this guy for next year. We want him to be good, so we played him for that long.
You made such an investment with the Teo trade.
Exactly.
You're kind of locked in on him.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, again, did I want it? Overall 2024, yes. Second half, Eric Swanson, that guy was great. I like that. That guy was, mid to solid for me. But this overall season, oh boy, I wouldn't want him in my bullpen.
Yeah.
I would probably put him in the worse than Ross Atkins tier. And I hate that. Because technically Tommy Nance was better, but he had
that's the thing. Like,
you
for
know?
some reason, I'm feeling like Eric Swanson's gotta be a bench warmer, but like, is there any?
Yeah.
Somebody give me an argument here.
Well, Mick Farlak saying, "Hey, in a tough year, I feel bad for what happened to Son Toby," and that's obvious. And that's why I also feel bad to like put him in the meme tier. You know what I'm saying? Like the meme, because he doesn't really deserve it. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think so. And like, he did have a good stretch, like at the end.
Yeah.
You know, like it
you
was
could really,
a good stretch.
you could really
at the end.
blame. I guess you could really blame the high inflated ER because the whip was great, 1.2.
It wasn't terrible,
The
right?
whip was great. You could really blame the high inflated stretch. Look at the stretch, like solid. Look at the earned runs.
And, like,
0,
you're
0,
actually
0.
you're getting better as the whole year goes on.
As the whole year goes
you know?
on.
Like you're seeing it gets better and better and better.
One bad blow up there.
Yeah.
And then like he got rushed back, blow up here, blow up here. The rest of it's honestly not bad at all, guys. Okay. Bench warmer. We convinced ourselves.
Low bench.
Low
like
bench.
The lowest of bench.
The lowest of bench next
Just
to Tommy
avoiding.
Nance. Yeah, you're right.
All right, Dalton Varsho, folks. We know the story here.
Yes.
Dalton Varsho, incredible defense. Could be a Gold Glover. Maybe even have an argument for a Platinum Glover.
Yeah.
With everything he does. But the bat is horrendous. I actually made a little short video talking about him. You know, Dalton Varsho, his bat speed is great.
Yeah. But the squared up rate is the worst.
Yeah, like he literally is so horrendous at, like, he swings hard, but he can't square the ball up. He can't barrel the ball at all. So he's always, like, I didn't realize this, but Dalton Varsho is like the king of pop-ups and fly-ups.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know,
for sure.
like I was looking at his baseball savant page, like everything, he's getting under the baseball. He's just consistently
with that
getting under
swing,
it.
it's that
you know,
swing, man.
so I don't know if he's trying to chop at it and getting too low and then, you know, popping it up skyward. Either way, it ain't working, and the bat speed, even though it's good, is not translating to the pop that we thought that we'd get. However, not a factor in, we're talking about one of the best defensive players in the game.
Right, one of the best, like literally one of the best defensive players, if not the best. And like overall, the slash, technically OPS is a little bit better than George Springer. And like, so for me, you kind of get a little bit more out of him than George Springer offensively and the best defender in the game. I wanna almost put him high bench or like low mid.
Oh, see,
You know what I'm saying?
I think he's got to be higher than that. You know, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking honestly high, mid, low, solid. You
You're
know,
right, you're
I just
okay.
think like the defense is so
You're
good.
right. Everyone's all over the place. Mid for his glove. Varsho's a bench player. Solid. I think maybe we can go somewhere. Oh yeah, you're right. Maybe we can go somewhere in the middle. We can put him in that next to Alejandra Kirk, where it's like they kind of had similar offensive years in terms of OPS plus, but the defense was outstanding.
All right, highest of mids
Highest
then
of
from
mids.
Dalton Varsho. You know,
The highest of
you
mids.
were talking about probably a Gold Glover.
Yeah, if not Platinum Glover.
If not, yeah.
We'll kind of meet in the middle right there, guys. We'll meet in the middle.
All right, Ryan Yarbrough, final one right here. Smaller sample size for Yarbrough with the Jays, but solid nonetheless. Somebody
very
that
solid.
I think we're all thinking should be signed back.
We should sign this guy,
If
yeah.
you know, if we could, we definitely can, and we definitely should do it because he had a 2.1 ERA over 31.1 innings. He came in as that long relief type of guy. I didn't start any games, but I could see a reality where later down the line, like they do decide to do that.
Yeah.
And most of the times, even though we didn't start games, you'd have like a Ryan Burr, and then it would be like one inning later, and it was Ryan Yarbrough, and he would go like 3-4-5 type thing.
Or you do like a Yio Rodriguez and then piggyback,
Yes.
Yarbrough off him. So if for me, I mean, that looking at what he did with Toronto, granted smaller sample size, he actually pitched 31 innings though. That's actually quite a lot of innings, 12 games. And the whip is so low, the ERA is so low. I mean, is he solid? Was he solid?
This is a weird one because in his time with Toronto,
he was solid.
100%.
I felt good seeing Yarbrough.
Do we think that like is 31 innings enough time to go? We can put you in the same tier as Jose Barrera.
Like as a long relief guy, usually you're getting like 80 to 100 innings if you're playing the full season. So you're getting like a third of that right here. What do we got in the chat here? Mid, he helped the bullpen. Ryan is a low solid. Yarbrough was solid. W season. I want to almost put him low. That feels weird putting him over like a Varsho.
That's the thing, right? Like that's where I'm kind of disconnecting here because I agree with everybody. He was solid, but it just feels weird putting him right in the same tier as a Barrios, and then above a Varsho, you know? So it's like, I feel like for me, if Varsho is going to be there, like he's got to be with Varsho.
A high mid right here between the guys.
And if,
that
you know,
feels right.
like if the innings total ended up being, you know, 50 or 60 or 70, yes, solid.
solid.
Even you could talk about elite at that point.
Right,
you know,
right. Oh,
if
fair
he was
enough.
doing that.
That's fair enough, guys. Okay, here is our final tier list of the 2024 Toronto Blue Jays. Let's take a look through and see if there's anything we changed. So obviously we got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Tier. Nobody else is even close to him. That feels good. In solid, you've got Jose Barrios, Bowen Francis, Spencer Horwitz, Chad Green, and Kevin Gosman. That actually feels pretty good.
Okay.
Would there be anybody in this lower tier of mid that you'd want to throw up there?
The only one I think would be
Dalton
Varsho.
I think I'm kind of with that too. I think I would consider him in a tier not with Hector Cabrera or Brendan Little.
Yeah, like he's a weird one because it's almost like you need your own separate tier for Varsho, because it's like
he's
like
so good
with the bat. Like with the bat, he's in bench warmer.
Yeah.
With the glove, he's in Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Right.
You know? So it's like you got to meet in the middle of like.
I'm kind of with it. Lowest of solids for me. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I think I'm with it.
It's so close. I think I'm with it. You know.
Okay, and then the mids, you've got Yarbrough, you got Kirk, you got Clement, you got Bassitt, you got Hector Cabrera, and you got Brandon Little.
That feels good.
That feels good right there. Those feel like pretty mid guys.
Pretty mid.
Bench warmers, you got Leo Jimenez, Barger, you got Lucas, Springer, Clase, Rodriguez, Burr, Loper, Fido, Nance, and Eric Swanson. Almost feels like there's a tier down here that should be in their own tier. You know what I'm saying?
They are pretty bad. Yeah, they are pretty bad. And then in the worse than Ross Atkins, you got Schneider, you got Heineman, Bo, Baroa, and then
you got De Los Santos.
Jesus Christ.
For me, it feels like there needs to be another tier, I guess, for these kind of guys. Like almost like we haven't seen enough, but also could be better dudes.
But
you know
also
what I mean?
Could be worse.
But
than
also
Ross
could be
Atkins,
worse than Ross Atkins kind of tiers. And then I feel like you need your own tier for like Davis Schneider because we love him. You know what I'm saying? And then
we like you, but you're not good.
Right. You had a bad year, but we should stay for the vibes.
We hope that it will be better. Ultimately, though, I think that this does tell the story of the 2024 Toronto Blue Jays pretty well. I mean, there is a clear hike at the bench warmer category, which makes sense because we won 74 games. So most of the guys are probably going to be down there. Walking into next year, you got to hope that some of those bench warmers, I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at, honestly, a lot of these guys. All of you need to go up here or up there even, you know, if you want to kind of make the jump to become a playoff team. And you guys have got to stay here. We can't be having you guys do what he did, or what he did, because that's not good, you know. So
you need to be Bichette needs to be up here.
You need to be up there. You know,
he needs to be up here, and then we need to make some solid additions or some more Vladimir Guerrero Jr. additions this offseason if we want to be competitive next season. Everybody.
But you guys let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about this tier list? A bit of a different Blue Jays Today show today, just because it is so quiet right now along the Blue Jays news front. We're going to be back again on Monday with another one. Hopefully some stuff breaks over the weekend. In the meantime, though, Adam's going to be having a video coming out tomorrow discussing the entire catching situation right now with this squad. Apparently, we're just keeping it.
We're just good with it, everybody. But we'll break it all down, so make sure to check it out. It'll be at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Guys, thank you so much for watching.
And as always,
go Jays, go!